and welcome. Thank you for joining me at the table. I'm Thomas Dodderwick, and this week I am blessed with sitting down once again with our Bishop Fleming. Bishop, thank you for joining me.
It's good to be here again.
Today we're going to talk about the feast that's actually happening today, which is the Feast of the Chair of St. Peter. It's a little strange.
It is.
So let's start big picture, and then we might work our way down a little bit.
Sure.
What is the Chair of St. Peter?
It is the chair, the cathedra, if you will, of St. Peter. It is his seat of power, if you will. It is in the Basilica of St. Peter's. I didn't realize it was there until I was there in Rome this last August. But really to see that was amazing.
Why does the church have a feast day? Most of the time when we think of feast days, we think of the apostles or other great saints. Why are we celebrating a feast for a chair?
Why do we celebrate a feast of a chair? It is a good question. It reminds us of our connection to a larger church, to actually Peter. Jesus tells Peter that you are the rock upon which I'll build my church, and against which the powers of hell will not prevail. So it reminds us of that connection, of us being an apostolic church as well, reminding us that we are in communion with the successor of St. Peter right now, Francis.
As you mentioned just a moment ago, you were there this past summer, and you were in the presence of the Chair of St. Peter. And so just talk about what that was like. St.
Peter's was an amazing experience. Had never been there until this year. Had a great tour from our seminarian, Thomas. And as our part of our bishop's school, our last day we celebrated Mass at the altar below the Chair of St. Peter, and then went and visited the successor of St. Peter, Francis. So just to be in that spot, literally feet away also from the tomb of St. Peter, just that holy ground and that connection of us throughout time, throughout history, spaces, but being one community, one Catholic community, one apostolic community. As a bishop, you are a successor to the apostles. We're not sure which one, but you are a successor to the apostles. Was that kind of a real shock? To me, it seems like it would be a shock, standing there at the Chair of St. Peter with successors of the apostles, thinking about those early apostles. Was that just an amazing experience? It was an amazing experience, a mind-blowing experience. Quite honestly, never thought I would be there. Just to be in that space, in that time, and knowing those connections and feeling those connections and just sensing the presence of God throughout time, throughout history, and the continued presence of God in this time and in this place. Chair of St. Peter reminds us of the cathedrals of each of our cathedrals. It's where we get the name cathedral from cathedra, the bishop's chair. So just remembering that as well, to sense that connection and that reminder of a bishop's called to be a teacher, teaching from a chair. Do you spiritually rely on those men that came before you as bishops and as an apostle, and if so, how? Much more so, or much more aware of it maybe now. As I spent time in St. Peter's, I spent time at the Chair of St. Peter, by his tomb as well, but also the tombs of other great saints throughout the history. A couple that I spent especially some time with was St. John Paul II's tomb. He was certainly Pope during most of my young adulthood. Was the Pope when I was ordained a priest. And then St. John the 23rd, and then Pius X, our own patron saint for our diocese. So I didn't intentionally know that I'd be going to those places, but I spent intentional time in front of each of those tombs, just praying and remembering that connection. I love how we're connected in the communion of saints. The ties of friendship and affection which knit us as one throughout life do not unravel with death. It's a prayer from our vigil funeral service, and I love that reminder how we are connected
and connected to all the saints. The ones we know, but also the ones we've not even met.
So it's easy to see the connection between our bishops and this feast day.
Right.
As a lay person and the lay people watching, how do we make that solid connection between the importance of this feast day?
Right. One ways that I think about often is our Eucharistic prayer. We mention the Pope, and we also mention the bishop, reminding us that we are part of a much bigger whole. It's easy to focus on our little parish community or bigger parish communities as well, but it reminds us, that Eucharistic prayer reminds us that we are one throughout the world, throughout time, throughout space. It's kind of mind-blowing, but it's that reality of who we are, who God created us to be, who Jesus calls his church to be.
There are going to be people who are watching right now, I'm sure, that they're going to say, how do we have a chair that's 2,000 years old? Is it really his cathedra?
That I cannot answer. I do not know. Read a little bit, and it may not be, but symbolically it is, and to have one spot on earth to be able to just kind of focus our attention is a good thing. I took some pictures when I was in Rome. It's an amazing thing. I didn't realize the stained glass above it of the Holy Spirit was also from there. I had Googled, searched Holy Spirit images for confirmation last year, came up with that image, had no clue where it was from until I literally was at the Vatican. So,
Bishop, thank you for taking time today to talk about the Feast of the Chair of St. Peter, and just thank you for your continued teaching of the faith and handing it down to us here in this diocese.
Thank you. It's good to be here. It's good to be with our people.